So if you're thinking about going fishing this weekend, it's going to be a bit breezy. However, the northeast winds have dropped the temperatures into the low 80s. Rumor has it kingfish are close to the beach in the salt water, and the crappie are staging in 15 to 25 feet of water in the fresh. It's time for the Texas Insider Fishing Report.
Welcome to the Texas Insider Fishing Report. Presented by Yamaha.
This is the Texas Insider Fishing Report. We're your hosts, Brie Gabrielle and Captain Rick Murphy, and we are less than a week away from fall. The fishing is holding strong, hunting is inevitable, and it's definitely a great time to be an outdoor Texan, in our Captain Bink Grimes words, right, Rick?
Absolutely. You know, Brie, and I noticed that you trying to be like a chameleon and blend in with our fishing shack.
It's camo time, and I'm excited about it.
All right. I hope you get to go hunting and fishing
and
soon.
Fishing, yes. Yeah. All right, well, let's give a nice welcome to our old fella at the workbench, Mr. Dave Farrell. What are we getting into today, Dave?
Oh, the old fella at the workbench.
Old fella.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about flounder fishing, wading for them, gigging them.
We've got
catching
lots
them
of
on the rod and reel.
Contraptions over there to
Yes,
do
we
so.
do. Yes, we do.
I'm excited.
A lot of long stuff in his cart.
A lot of stuff. All right. First up to lead us into some fish catching victories is Johnny Geis, who's talking about the crappie and bass on Lake of the Pines and, of course, Lake Fork. Talk to us, Johnny.
Hey, Rick and Brie. Well, let's start it off tonight with the old crappie. They're on fire over at Lake of the Pines. Crappie pro Charlie Burrow helped me with this report. Said he's been catching consistent limits of quality crappie over there on the Pines. Charlie's an expert with his Garmin live scope, and he does a little YouTube channel called Go Fish. He posts some regular short videos of catching crappie with a lot of good shots of the Garmin in action. Lake of the Pines, it's a real popular East Texas reservoir, and it's loaded with some big crappie and also a fairly good bass lake as well. Charlie enjoys finding the big crappie in standing timber, pole timber we call it, and figuring out which size color of jig the fish prefer each day, mainly fishing with jigs. He enjoys taking his wife Pam along, and she usually catches the most. So Charlie says that the crappie bite's heating up, and as the water cools on down, the crappie fishing is going to be on fire in the Pines of the next couple of months. Look for the schools of crappie right now, holding tight to timber and brush, that 15 to 20 foot of water. Drop that jig right down on their nose, and you need to pay real close attention to how the crappie reacts to the jig. Try to keep it moving slightly above them, and as they start to rise to the bite, don't stop it. They'll come up and catch it. If you want to watch how effective the live scope is, check out the Charlie Go Fish YouTube video and enjoy that action. He got a picture of a real nice, clean-looking little black crappie he caught on Lake of Pines this week, and it's a good shot right there.
That is a good shot, bub. Tell us about the bass fishing.
Over here on black bass here on Lake Fork, man, the first cool front in September has finally arrived, and the bass are starting to transition into some early fall patterns. They're moving up shallow. There's a brief topwater bite each morning, but it only lasts a short time, and then it's time to put that Texas rig worm on and start fishing the standing timber and the stumps around the main lake points. Use a 3/16 ounce, 3/8 ounce weight, and slowly drag a blue fleck or a red bug colored worm close to the heavy cover. Around mid-morning, it's time to move on out to the 20-25 foot water level and some good structure, and look for groups of feeding bass near the bottom. You'll usually find them on these long tapered points here on Fork. We got a lot of road beds and humps out there and pond downs. There's 3 techniques right now that are working best, and we got the big tournament this weekend, so pay attention here. Start out with a 1 ounce Carolina rig, a long leader with the green pumpkin fluke type bait if you want to catch the big one of the tournament. Slowly drag that C rig and try to keep the weight right on the bottom. Another effective presentation going on right now is to pull a 3/4 ounce football jig with the matching trailer along that same structure. Some days you'll find the suspended schools of bass a little bit harder to catch, but they can be caught on a large crankbait or a flutter spoon. I'm using my Garmin live scope, and it's so critical right now when fishing for suspended bass, and it's a very effective tool when you're fishing the drop shots in the brush piles as well. The live scope lets you see exactly how deep the fish are holding and how to present your lure close to the fish. So also, although it'll show you where the bass are holding when they're fishing the brush piles, You got to really see how they react to it, and you don't get hung up as much as well. The Sealy Big Bass Splash starts tomorrow here on Lake Fork. Probably have 3,000 or better fishermen. We're expecting to see some large bass caught each hour. So hope to see some of our viewers in the area and hope they win some of the big checks at this event. Got the picture right here. Wanted to show you. This is what it looked like last year. The whole kit and caboodle. He's caught a 10.61 Blake Hardy, and it'll probably take a bigger fish this year. I'm looking for 11 or 12 pounder to come out of the tournament. Hey, the fall bite is going to steadily improve with its cold front, and the bass will become more effective as they migrate back in these creek areas. So watch for the bait activity and more schooling action in the afternoons. Small shad-colored square-bill crankbait's a good choice to search for these feeding fish. Keep your boat moving. Search the shallows 5 to 10 foot of water. Hey, hunting season is right around the corner. Many anglers, they'll be heading to the woods here in East Texas, so be a little less crowded on the lake, so get out and enjoy fishing here in October and November. We got one last picture that I caught this last week, the quality Lake Fork bass. I bit that football jig this week. Leave you with that one, and remember to get you your new Texas fishing license. They expired on the end of August, and wear that kill switch. It's a state law every time the motor's running. Y'all be safe and have fun out here.
All right, thanks for all the great tips, Johnny. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the Upper Fresh region. The Lake of the Pines. He says the crappie are biting great on the minnows and jigs and find them suspended in 12 to 14 feet on deeper timber or brush piles. And then Lake Fork, the water temperature's in the mid 80s and it's 1.5 low. The bass are biting on the Texas rig worm in 5 to 8 feet of water on the main points of the lake, and then some early topwater bite and schooling under the bridges, and the crappie are best on the minnows on the brush piles, Brie.
Well, good luck to all those anglers on Lake Fork this weekend. That's going to be a fun tournament. All right, let's head into the Fish Bites Upper Coast region to see what the conditions are like if you're planning on going offshore or staying inshore this weekend. What's it looking like, Carl?
Well, guys, headed back up to Sabine Lake this week. That water temperature is hovering around 88 degrees, and the influx of fresh water has slowed down a bit this week. Bait is back schooling around the shorelines and reefs, so topwater is still your best bet, and the old live shrimp on a popping cork just can't be beat. Throwing artificial topwater has still been productive, and the 4-inch Bass Assassin shrimp in white on a 1/4-ounce jig head has been showing some really nice blow-ups this week. And as you work your way through the jetties, there's plenty of good fish pushing bait up on the rocks on those incoming tides. And when we've been chasing these schools, we've been throwing mirror lure topwater in a green shad or a broken glass and having some really nice luck. Here's a picture today of Joe from Seabrook with a nice red.
Nice. All right. Let's keep going,
So,
bub. Tell us about the trout.
Over on trout, the upper coast weather continues to be really hot this week. The trout are still running shad and mullet out on the beachfront. We've seen some really nice fish caught there this week, Rick. East side of the Galveston jetties and all along the upper coast. Now, our cactus has remained about the same the last few weeks. The early morning bite reigns number one for most action, this week. And again, that time of the day, you really want to be out there throwing some live bait. Shrimp on a popping cork, once again, is still hard to beat. The finger mullet is running a close second this week. Artificial seem to be more productive in the late evenings, and topwater is going to be your best bet there. And we have a picture of Shane with a nice trout today.
All right. Let's go offshore, bub.
Running offshore, kingfish. The late summer, the upper coast brings some really large kingfish closer to the shore. And as these southeast and southwest winds push that green water towards the beaches, it also pushes that bait in closer, and this is what these big kings are targeting. Drift fishing with live bait usually triggers a really aggressive bite this time of year, and so we like to use lighter tackle also, such as spinning gear this time of year. You're in shallow water, less chance of being spooled. They'll run out, you can run them down. We stay rigged with wire leader, of course. I use the Eagle Claw 4 times treble hook, and that always ensures a really good hookup. If you like a J hook, then we prefer the R&R tackle. They have a killer kingfish rig. This rig comes with a titanium leader and a small, really strong barrel swivel for a fast and simple tie-on and go setup. And we have a picture today of Brian and Mike with a nice kingfish.
Nice. All right. Let's talk a little bit about the ling, bub.
Well, guys, in the past few weeks, we've been seeing a lot more ling coming to the dock. With the shrimping season in full swing here in the Upper Coast, we're using these boats for a fishing advantage. Start your drift close to the stern of these shrimp boats. You'll definitely know if there's some ling in the area pretty quick. Start out, throw a handful of chum in the water, and as you drift away, the chum will bring these fish closer to you and draw them away from the shrimp boat. I like to keep a rod rigged with a single J-hook tied to about 3-foot piece of fluorocarbon for live or cut bait. And we keep a second rod rigged with a large swim bait, like a 6-inch swim shad on a 2-ounce jig head or a large Eagle Claw Trocar Pro V bent bucktail jig. And we keep that tipped with fish bites. And I'm telling you, in the crab flavor, it's been dynamite. These fish love that fish bites in the crab flavor. And Mr. Wilson, again, had a picture this week of a really nice ling.
All right, bub. Thank you so much. God, what a great cobia. All right, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the Mirror hotspots from the Upper Coast region. Good report this week. Inshore, redfish casting a live shrimp on a popping cork along the jetties and around the oyster reefs. Used a 30-pound diamond fluorocarbon leader on a medium heavy action rod. And then offshore, the kingfish drift sardines over the bottom structure and slow troll live baits. And make sure that you have a wire stinger rig, Brie.
You were just saying you wanted to catch a cobia that size.
Woo, that was a big one.
That was a big one. All right, the lower fresh region has our attention when we return, but Dave Farrell is always an attention getter when he's manning the workbench for rigs and techniques. Feeling hammy today, Dave?
I am. I've got my Poseidon trench.
Poseidon.
Trident. Yeah, exactly. We're going to be talking a little bit about gigging the flounder, too. So
Sounds fun.
This could come in handy.
We'll be back.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Casa Vieja Lodge. 5-star angling in beautiful Guatemala. Garmin. Join the club. Sportsman's Adventures. Fishing for adventure. And Skeeter Performance Fishing Boats. Eat, sleep, fish.
Reliability. Yamaha is known for it. And it's something boaters value, because these days, few things are built to last. When we find something that is, we hold on to friendships, traditions, outboards, because every second on the water is sacred. If you count on having this time, you need an outboard you can count on to power it. That's why boaters choose Yamaha for the long run, for life, because reliability starts here.
Remember the glory days of gasoline? It's just not made the same anymore.
Kick your gas into gear with StarTron. Pump up the performance in all of your engines. Cure the problems of ethanol with the power of enzymes. And maximize your mileage every time you drive. Kickstart your engines with StarTron.
For the Bay and beyond, team up with the best and rule the Bay in a Skeeter. Proven with 19 consecutive NMMA Consumer Satisfaction Awards. And right now through October 19th, you can fall into savings with rebates of up to $2,500. Versatility, control, performance, and design. Visit your local dealer or online at SkeeterBoats.com and fall into savings through October 19th. Skeeter, it's more than a boat, it's a lifestyle.
Have you ever felt your heart pounding while feeling the power of a tarpon in the Florida Keys? Or experienced the changing colors of a mahi as you bring it on board? Whether it's in the Bahamas, the Florida Keys, Guatemala, or the Florida Everglades, Murphy's Law Sports Fishing has the ability to guide you to the fish of a lifetime. To book your trip today, call 305-246-0673 or go to murphyslawsportfishing.com.
So we're here at the workbench, and Dave, you've got a lot of strange things to my little brain over here, bud.
Well, we're talking about flounder fishing, and it's a big fish to catch. It's one of the fish in the triple slam. A trout, a redfish, and a flounder is what you want to catch when you go inshore fishing.
Right.
And so they've been hit pretty hard in the last few years, so they're trying to do things, to make sure that we have more and more flounder every year. So that they're coming down with some of the you used to be able to keep a lot of flounders, and now you can only keep 5 in certain times of the year and only 2 in other times of the year, and those things are changing all the time. So you just want to make sure you call the the Texas Department of Game before you go out fishing. Make sure you know all the rules and stuff. I'm not going to sit up here and tell you, because if I do, it'll be wrong. But when you're wanting to go out there, obviously rod and reel fishing is a great way to do it. Waiting for them is great to do. It's fun to do. What you got to do is, a flounder is an ambush predator, buries himself in the sand on the bottom. So anything that you're going to be fishing with, you want to keep close to the bottom.
Right.
They really love live baits. They love live shrimp. They love a live mud minnow. We call them a killifish, but it's a mud minnow. Any small white bait, and a good way to fish them is on a Carolina rig like this. You don't have, if you're fishing in really heavy current, which it's a good thing to do. If you find moving water and bait and stuff in the water, it's always a good place to start, because they're going to be laid up in a spot where the bait's coming to them. They don't swim around to chase things much. They stay pretty much where they're at and wait for the bait to come to them. And when you find one, you usually find more than one, because they pool up together. And in some of these back bays and stuff, in the spring they'll be up, in the summer they'll be in the back bays, and the first cold front comes through in the fall, they start to migrate out of the bays to the Gulf. They want to go spawn in the Gulf of Mexico. They spawn in like 100 feet to 200 feet of water out there. But so you catch a lot of them during that migration, because you can pretty much tell where they're going. If you get into the cuts and the channels and whatnot that are heading from the deep bays out into the Gulf, and you target those areas, should do well, especially during the fall.
So the key seems to be make sure you're on the bottom.
Right.
You like using a kale hook, like this Eagle Claw
Correct.
kale hook?
I picked that kale hook out for a reason. They have a very sharp, hard mouth, and it gets pretty big for how big the fish is. But when you let them eat a live bait, you got to let them eat it. The good thing to do is to bounce this thing along the bottom, can make a long cast, and then just slowly drag it along the bottom. And when you feel that bump, don't do anything. Just let it go until you feel a pull on the other end, and then you set the hook, because they will grab things and let it go, or just grab the end of the fish, and because they have all those teeth, that's how they kill things, with their teeth.
Right.
They stab things to death with those nasty teeth, and the bigger the bait is, the more likely that they're going to chew on it before they swallow it and make sure it's dead. So you got to make sure that you let them eat when they eat, and let them eat a little more and eat a little more, especially when you're using a live bait. Now, when you're using a jig, this would be a great jig to use. A jig head with a Fish Bites bully club on there. They love any kind of taste. A regular Fish Bites will work on a pompano jig. Just a little regular Fish Bites on there. Any type of mullet imitator that you can bounce on a jig head works. Where you can catch a lot of them is if you can get into a marina or someplace that's close. A lot of marinas say you're not supposed to fish in there, but they love to hang under a boat. Anytime.
And why is that? Because it washes in and out?
I guess because there's a little depression, underneath where if a boat's hanging in a slip and the guy's going in and out, there's a little depression under there. And if there's water moving over that depression, they will pool up underneath boats, and even your boat. Right. If you're in the inlet, if you're sitting on the jetty and you anchor up in that jetty and you sit there for a while, before long, they'll start coming and gathering up underneath your boat. They like to get in that shade for some reason. I don't know if it keeps the bait in that area or what. But the big thing to do up there is to gig them. You get out there and you put lights all over your boat, or you can you get some Jerry's LEDs like these, which I'll be talking about during new products. But you get out there and you wade with these lights in the water, and you stick them with that big heavy gig. Gig. Yeah, and it's just loads of fun.
All right. Well, I can't wait to talk about the lights.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about
the new products, Brie.
Heaving and hoeing the flounders.
Heave ho.
Heave ho. Got it? All right. We're getting into the nitty gritty with Matt Reed talking about Falcon Lake, Choke Canyon, Somerville, Fayette County, Lake Travis, Austin, and LBJ. There's a lot of options, Matt, so let's explore them, shall we?
Let's do it. Let's get this thing started. Gonna start out talking about the bass at my part of the world at Falcon Lake. It's been a little bit up and down lately. We've had a lot of thunderstorms and rain, and which is abnormal for down here. These fish are used to sunshine and heat. So when it's cloudy, they tend to roam a little bit. Still been really good. You can still catch them on a Texas rig, big worm in the brush piles.
that's the way I'm catching most of them, but that's obviously better when the sun shines. Also, I've caught a lot of fish just this week on the rock ledges with a big stand-up head. That's better when it's cloudy because they can roam up and down that rock ledge and be aggressive. Mike Bates has sent me a report from Choke Canyon. Lake came up a little bit with the rain. The bass has been really active with it, kind of cooling down a little bit and water coming up. Morning bite on a swim bait or top water and spinner bait's been really good. It's lasting until about 8:30 or 9 o'clock. On cloudy days, it may last all day. After that, you want to throw a Texas rig out on the outside of the hydrilla and just cover as much water as you can, and you'll find them in little groups. There's also still a punching bite through the hydrilla, with an ounce and a half weight. But that's only good on sunny days. They're going to get outside that hydrilla when there's clouds. Otherwise, they'll get under it with the bright sun to get in the shade under there. Greg Boyd sent me a report from Somerville. Largemouth have been pretty good this week. Most of them are on lipless crankbaits and small spinner baits. Also, a silent square bill has been working best around the visible shad. There's a lot of shad activity with these springs and cooler temps we've had. They don't want to react to that. Get you a green pumpkin, a stick bait, and fish it really slow in the same areas. Fayette County has been pretty good. Catching a lot of solid fish in the mornings around the reeds on a chatterbait, a rattle trap, or swim jig. Mid-morning, move on out on the main lake drop-offs and road beds with a Carolina rig, stick bait, or a fluke in that 15 to 25 foot range. There's also some fish at the mouth of the discharge on the rocks there. Catching them on a Carolina rig and a Texas rig. Brian Cotter sent me a report from the Austin area. Lake Travis has really picked up this week. The water temperature dropped about 5 degrees, which made the bigger fish gather at the mouth of the pockets and cuts. Catching them on top waters and, early. A little later on, the mid-depth crankbaits and Texas rigs seem to be doing the best. Catching a lot of 2 to 4 pounders and occasionally a bigger one. Lake Austin is also turned on, catching a lot of fish in the 4 to 6 pound class with a bigger one here and there. Deep crankbaits and jigs have been the best ticket for the bigger ones, while you can throw a shaky head or a wacky worm around the docks to catch you some good numbers. LBJ's fishing well. The fish are in the back of the coves chasing shad. Spinner bait or a chatterbait will get a lot of damage done. If you need to slow down, get your shaky head or a jig, and that'll pick up some more fish. If you want to look for a great big one, skip that jig up under the deeper docks. That's your best chance for an 8 or 10 pounder right now. Got a picture there of one of my clients this week with another one of my favorite kind of fish, a big old Falcon Lake bass.
Nice. All right. Well, we got some hybrids to talk about, so go ahead.
All right. We got Lake Somerville. The white bass and hybrids are schooling, pushing shad to the surface. It's just a blast. Easiest way to find them on the lower end is look for the birds, just like saltwater fishing. Look for the seagulls. They'll show you where to go. Throw you a top water or a top water, or either a walking style or a popper, either one, or a spoon into that surface activity, and you can load the boat. After they go down, you need to throw a crankbait or a swim bait in that 6 to 12 foot water. Just a lot of fun. Tons of numbers when you're chasing white bass and hybrids.
All right, Bubba, you finished?
I'm finished.
All right, well, thank you so much. I didn't want to step on you. We're going to go and take a look at the hot spots at the lower fresh region. He says that the Somerville, the white bass and the hybrids are on fire. Look for the surface schoolers on the lower end of the lake, and then diving birds will point you to the frenzy, and then you want to throw topwaters and spoons to load up the boat, Brie.
I swear, those Lake Falcon bass, they're their own species.
Yeah, they are.
They're just like, bam, just fatties every time. I love it.
You know what follows a big falcon bass?
No.
This.
Okay, that's a good one, Rick.
That's usually what happens after you catch one.
Yep. Okay. The Garmin Lower Coast and Alvey Reels Middle Coast regions are just begging for some attention, and rightfully so stay hooked. But before we go, we want to remind you to keep up with everything fishing in Texas. Make sure to head over to our website, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube page, Captain Rick Murphy. We'll be right back.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Contender Boats, always in the game. Bass Assassin and Saltwater Assassin, the best lures, period. Alvy Reels, a better way to fish. And Murphy's Law Sport Fishing. Book your trip today at murphyslawsportfishing.com.
An entirely new species of extreme predator is moving offshore. The Yamaha 5.6-liter V8 XTO offshore outboard. Extreme big block thrust and power in the industry's first direct injection 4-stroke. Quiet, efficient, powerful, and proven Yamaha reliability. More than an outboard, it's a fully integrated power system. The all-new Yamaha V8 XTO offshore.
Why is Casa Vieja Lodge on everyone's bucket list?
Left teaser. Left flat as well. 2 fish. They're everywhere. Right flat teaser as well. Left flat, right flat teaser.
Come to Casa Vieja Lodge and check it off your list.
Finding a shoreline is easy. Finding a sure thing is not. For over 20 years, anglers from Kitty Hawk to California and every shore in between have come to know one thing: that nothing says no to fish bites. So just stop with the fishing and get busy with the catching. Ask for Fish Bites or Fish Bites Fight Club lures or visit fishbites.com.
You've seen us demonstrate Yamaha's Helmmaster systems over the last few years, and now Yamaha has upped their game once again with Helmmaster EX. What's the difference? Well, a lot. Now Helmmaster EX offers boaters customizable integrated boat control with more ease and convenience than ever before. Available for single, yes, single, through quad applications. Helmmaster EX brings ultimate boat control and fishability to a wider variety of boaters. But you may ask, how does this work for a single outboard application? Helmmaster EX is perfect for smaller center console and larger bay boats. Its new joystick option, which is the same as used on multi-outboard systems, allows boaters who desire single outboard power to enjoy the vast majority of the long list of benefits associated with multi-outboard Helmmaster EX applications. The system works with Yamaha's new digital electric steering. Its system is similar to that built into every XTO offshore and can now be added to any current Yamaha DEC controlled outboard. There are no conventional steering pumps, hoses, or wiring, which offers a clean, more spacious bilge. There are also no valves, hoses, or control units, and no need for fluid filling, purging, or bleeding. Plus, the steering action becomes super smooth and precise. Helmmaster EX also boasts all-new joystick maneuverability with new software. Buttons for fish point and drift point are integrated in the housing. Another module for the command and control system houses autopilot and directional control. You can even plot a course, and the engines will decelerate upon arrival at your final destination. It all ties in seamlessly together. Also new, Helmmaster EX or its system components can be installed by the boat builder at the factory or by dealers when repowering at the dealership. The new Helmmaster EX from Yamaha, expanding your possibilities on the water and your ultimate boating enjoyment. To learn more about the Helmmaster EX Ultimate Boat Control System, go to YamahaOutboards.com or visit your local Yamaha dealer.
You know, Brie, for the single engine application where I really think this EX is going to really have a big deal is to be able to have what we have with fish point, drift point. those are the things that you didn't have before.
Right.
But to be able to push a button and sit there and hold in position while you're waiting for the fuel dock or waiting for a space at the dock.
Hallelujah.
Yeah. We've got that on the multi-engines, but now you have it with EX in the single engine.
You're a single engine
application.
guy. There you have it. All right, our Captain Chad Kinney in the Garmin Lower Coast region has quite the offshore and inshore report for us this weekend. So let's see how we're sending off the last weekend of summer. Go for it, Chad.
I do got some good stuff. We got some unique fish we're going to talk about, some different stuff. So starting out, the Lower Coast jetties, they've been good for quite a while, and they're still been really on fire. Great for some redfish action, and some flounder are also starting to show up along the passes and guts in the land cut and the east cut around Port Mansfield here. So talking about those jetties and stuff, I was talking about the redfish. They've been holding around there for a while, Port A jetties, Port Mansfield jetties. Key there is what I like doing is really watching the tidal movement. And by that I mean, if it's really ripping, like really going fast out or in, to me the bite's normally off. You want to be there when the tide's kind of starting to switch and change. I like it when it's just starting to move on out. It seems to get that fish really starting to bite, feed heavier then. Using some live pinfish, piggies, mullet, croaker, really working good. You can put that on a 7/0 eagle claw kale hook this time of year. The baits are a little bit bigger. Go ahead and free line those. If you're fishing really up close to the rocks, you can add a cork. No weight in the cork, just an old-fashioned old cork where you can slip that line through there. And it's a Momoya fluorocarbon leader, 60-pound with a 7/0 eagle claw kale hook on that. Key of theirs just keeps the baits from getting stuck in the rocks there. Also acts as an indicator for you guys. Also, some fish bites works really good. You get a 1/4 ounce to 3/4 ounce heavier jig head. Work this off the bottom, cast into those eddies, kind of slowly lift the rod up where they're going, and when they start feeding, it's going to be on quick. There's been plenty of slot reds and oversized reds mixed in with these. What they're going to do is you can be there for an hour or two and not really going, all of a sudden, boom, it's going to turn off for 45 minutes, and it's going to be lights out. So got a picture here. A couple buddies of mine, we went out there and we released a bunch of redfish in about 40 minutes. Got a picture here of a good slot red, Gila and Randy there with a 28-incher.
Nice.
So moving to solid fish. So moving to the flounder fishing bites is getting better. Like I said, it's not on fire, but it's great fish to target if you got some patience, and it's great table fare. Look for some guts and washouts. They have some flow in it. Right now we got some higher tidal movement and some higher tides, so look for that stuff to start falling out. Look for some bait movement, such as some small shiners, mullet moving, maybe some shrimp jumping. Go with an 1/8 ounce to 1/4 ounce jig head. Put a fish bite strip on there with the jig head and attach it, and just work perfectly. Just bump it off the bottom, slowly move it through there, all the edges, everywhere you can get. You can also try some live bait, like smaller croaker or some mud minnows. But the main thing is make sure you hit those drop off on the edges all over. You can't just cast once or twice and move on to the next guy. You got to work really those areas. Once you feel that thump, you're going to feel one solid thump. Let it sit for a bit, and then set the hook, and you'll get them going. And either if you're on a boat, make sure you have a landing net. If you're wade fishing, have one. If not, if you're on a bank, you can, the easy thing is you get those things are so flat, you can just slide them on up the bank and they'll go there. Got a picture of a couple of young guys there, which is a cool, pretty good picture of 2 young guys with 2 flounder.
Nice.
Good job, guys.
Yeah, moving over to offshore, the state water snapper fishing, been talking about it, still remains excellent. And there's some ling showing up. So they're even showing up while you're snapper fishing, where you can target those ling around wrecks and shrimp boats and platforms out there. The snapper fishing remains excellent in state waters. Conditions this time of year are normally favorable for this. Watch out for this weekend. Kind of look for tropical weather, but it should be okay. Look for the better water clarity to suspend the fish to be a little bit more aggressive. You can utilize your Garmin GPS, not by only getting you right to the spot, by also watching your sonar. But the key thing is also when you're drifting, have your track line on so you can mark your drift where you start, and you'll see where you drift through there. Go ahead and fish and cover your distance, and when the fish stop biting, you can look back, go circle back to that spot, repeat it again. Another thing on your Garmin there is you got a marked feet and distance where you start. So if you're 150, 200 feet off and the bite stops, look back and say, okay, that's where I need to stop, and just turn back around so you don't keep wasting your time drifting on down the line. It's a great feature. I use it all the time. It really puts you on there. And so best thing to do also with these suspended fish, take an eagle claw jig head and about a 1 to 3 ounce and put the fish bites on them and get those suspended fish. Got a picture of a buddy of mine, Eric Solids, out there in a bay boat. He's got a nice 18-pound snapper there.
Boy, I'd say good job.
All
right.
Good one. So heading some ling, which we don't talk about these a whole bunch, but it's never a guarantee, but this time of year it can be productive. Having rod and reel always ready. I like just having a eagle claw circle hook just tied directly to the main line with a rod ready to go. 7 to 8/0 hook is perfectly fine for this. The ling pops up while you're snapper fishing. Throw a few pieces of chum out. put the piece of bait on the rod, just kind of free line it to him. Main thing is when he picks it up, he's going to pick it up or suck it right in like a bass almost. Let him run 20, 30 feet, and then slowly set that hook, that circle hook, to do all the work. It'll hook on the side of the mouth there for you. And when you're looking for these ling behind the shrimp boats, pretty easy thing to do is just back up to the shrimp boat, throw some chum out. You see them, great, fish for them. If not, move on to the next one. And that's the best way to, I can tell you now, we got a picture of a really good solid 35, 40-pound ling here.
Man, that's nice. All right, Chad. Well, I'm coming there next week, so I hope I catch one that big.
Shaling-a-ling.
I'm ready.
All right, bud. It's time to take a look at the shallow sport boats, lower coast hotspots. He says Port Aransas to Port Mansfield jetties have been excellent for redfish when the tide's changing, using some live bait or maybe some fish bites on a heavy jig head. And the state water snapper fishing remains excellent with some ling showing up around the wrecks in the shrimp boats.
I hope you catch a cobia that size. I'm
Me
excited.
too.
All right, autumn is...
Cobia in my mouth.
Okay. Autumn is definitely taking effect in the Albireels Middle Coast region, so let's see what kind of fishing we're in for. Go for it, Bink.
Our tides are swelling and that autumn equinox is approaching. Our bays are healthy. Opportunities abound. It's just a good time to be in Texas and on the Middle Coast. We're seeing shrimp begin to flood the shorelines, and our bait shrimpers have had little problem keeping healthy bait supplies in the tank. Already there's birds working in our bays on calm days, and that's a barometer of what's to come for the fall. West Matagorda Bay's been good while waiting for trout along the south shoreline. Those toss and topwaters have found bigger trout along the grass lines with high tides. Half Moon Reef, Coon Island Reef, and reefs of Turtle Bay have been good on live shrimp under popping cork and on small topwaters like mirrors and sheep ups and she dogs. In Port O'Connor, the reefs in San Antonio Bay have been hot with calm winds. Waders and boaters both have been finding fish on the edges of the reefs on live bait and soft plastic. Then Rockport waders, they've found large trout on corkies and topwaters in the guts up around Carlos and Mesquite Bays. Most of those fish are hanging around the reefs, the sand, and the grass potholes. Then the reefs in East Matagorda Bay has been a player this month. Shrimp migrating through the bay. It's got a lot of these fish on those mid-bay reefs. We've had some great action on sheep pups and bass assassins on the edges of the reef. We're also seeing great results for big fish. You know, great things about East Bay is you don't have to wade to catch a big trout there. I mean, sure, there's some big trout on the shoreline, but man, you've got just as good a chance at catching the biggest trout of your life out of the middle of the boat. And we did that a lot last week, throwing plastic, soft plastic bass assassins in the 5-inch straight tail and the sea shad. Large tides are pushing these trout on the shorelines, and corkies and sheep pups are really getting hit right now. And our water temperature is rolling at about 82 degrees, but it's falling every day. Our nights have been in the 70s, and that allows that water temperature to go down. Our photo there, man, a fish came while fishing soft plastics under popping cork in about 5 foot of water. We're throwing that mirror lure, Little John, at those trout like that. Redfish, man, our higher tide this month is a boom for red fishing. All our guys that strictly target redfish, this is their time. September, October, November is their time. There's lots of shrimp in the back lakes and the marshes, and many of those are good on small topwaters and live shrimp under a mid-coast cork. There in Matagorda, Cutoff Flats, Zipperin, Bio, Shell Island, and Twin Islands are our players. I caught fish on the North Shoreline of West Bay this week on an afternoon trip after we've been running cast and blast trips, teal in the morning and redfish in the afternoon. We've been doing really good. Some of the largest redfish have been found in the middle of East Bay as well under birds. When things are really firing off, there could be 10 to 20 groups working in the bay. We're starting to see that. One will have a good trout underneath, the other will be a redfish. It's just a great time. In Rockport, the back lakes like Allen's Bight, the marshes of St. Joe Island hold lots of reds. Estes Flats are doing the same. Jetty action fired off from Freeport to Port Aransas. Those bull redfish are making their way to the Gulf right now. They're on the rocks, they're on the beachfront, and a lot of people are catching them on cracked blue crabs, mullet, fresh mullet, and big old large table shrimp. Then waders along the South Shore on the West Bay, on the points on bass assassins. Fishing the points, most of the points have shell on them, and people that are wading with live shrimp are catching redfish and black drum nearly every cast on those points. As those fish begin to move into the bays, they'll be back on the grassy shorelines on the north and south side. They'll be tossing shrimp right up on the grass line when those tides get really, really swollen. It pushes all that water up in the grass, and those little bitty shrimp are trying to hide in that grass. And man, those big rafts and schools of redfish run all through that grass trying to root them out. We're already seeing groups of 50, 60, and 70 redfish in a pod just coming down like a bunch of bulls through there. It's a really cool thing to see. Offshore, amberjack, our guide, Michael Quebeca, says amberjack's been good in 150 foot of water around deep water wrecks. Cutoff rigs have been good for AJs too, as have been for grouper. The shrimp boats are still good behind them, for cobia, blackfin tuna, and kingfish. Grass lines are still holding Dorado. There's just still a consistent bite in waters, which is normal for Texas all year. State waters for red snapper.
All right, thank you
good.
so much, Bake. Great report from the Alvey Middle Coast region. It's time to take a look at the hot spots. He says the trout are good in the North Shoreline and the West Bay. On Bass Assassins worked under the birds, and the redfish are good in the back lakes of Port O'Connor on small top waters, Brie.
All right, coming up, we're seeing what the StarTron Middle Fresh region has to offer us to close summer out with a bang. But first, we're seeing what fun new toys Dave has for us at the Workbench for New Products. Dave, you're supposed to be in your wagon.
I know. I'm afraid I'm going to cross the streams here, though. I feel like a Ghostbuster or something.
You look like one.
Wow, those things are cool, man.
Oh.
Gigging lights. Pretty neat.
Lights out. We'll be back.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Ameritrail. Load, launch, relax. Turn on the bite anytime. Tie on a Miralure. Diamond Fishing Products. Our reputation is on the line. And StarTron. Cures and prevents ethanol fuel problems.
At the pinnacle of super high output, 4-stroke outboard performance, you'll find Yamaha VMAX SHO. Yamaha's game-changing SHO technology. From exhilarating V6 models to the sleek inline 4s, there's a VMAX SHO for everything from bass to bonefish. It's an extended family of 4-strokes engineered for lightweight, inspiring performance, and rock-solid reliability. Discover VMAX SHO and elevate your expectations.
The only reel with over 100 years of heritage. Alvey reels are manufactured using the most reliable components. Alvey's state-of-the-art drag and retrieve rates are perfect for any fishing challenge. So whether it's a side cast or spinning reel, Alvey makes a reel that best fits your needs. Alvey reels are manufactured to best practice standards and are in fact so robust that the Alvey also comes with up to a 10-year salt and sand warranty. For more information, go to alveyus.com.
Today's power pole tip is about utilizing your power poles and making yourself fish more patient. Now understand, guys, it's really important that you utilize the power poles to slow your fishing down. The fish are gonna feel a pressure wave even if you're in a technical poling skiff that's very light. So as you approach a small bay, make sure that you power pole down and let that wave go out in front of you. Sit there for 3 or 4 or 5 minutes. And what that allows you to do is the fish get used to the pressure of the weight of the boat as it's in the bay. In 2001, when I was first introduced to the power poles, it was in the IFA Redfish Championship, utilizing the power poles and power poling down, fan casting from 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock, and then around to 3 o'clock, picking up the power poles, moving 60 feet. Utilizing that idea allowed us to come in 5th place in that championship, and that was my first exposure to what made power poles allow me to dissect a bay. So be more patient, don't be in a hurry. And that's today's power pole tip of the week. So Dave, we're here at the workbench, and it's time for new products, and it was kind of bright over here a minute ago.
Yeah, it is, but we're going to start with your Garmin watch over there, the Garmin Quatex 6.
I like it.
And it's a very smart watch. It does a whole lot of things. It connects with all their compatible Garmin chart plotters, and it will stream data right to your watch. You can tell how fast you're going. You can tell where you're going. I mean, you can tell what the water depth is, whatever. You can customize it to do all kinds of stuff. It's got an autopilot control. You can do an app from your phone and control your autopilot from anywhere on the boat. Follow a GPS route. You can do it links with the Fusion to your audio system, so you can play all the music you want to play from your watch. It's got a freshwater maps as well, so you can go into lakes and navigate and figure out where you need to go on all the lakes. And they'll even track your heart rate.
That's good.
Yeah. Keep you healthy.
As we get older.
Yeah, exactly. Takes the texts and emails. A charge will last for 14 days. Just does all kinds of stuff. The Garmin Quatex 6. If you're into that
watches.
smartwatch
I
thing,
have the 5, so
well,
I can imagine how
they might let you keep that one. I don't know.
Okay, bring it on, guys.
Next here we got some Jerry's LED lights, and these are for weighting. This is the JLED 30 CU and the 40 CU, and the only difference between these is one's 30 watt and one's 40 watts, and you can see one's got really white light and the other one's got the yellowish color light. And the yellowish color is for when you're in dirty water, if you're in a place where the water's dirty a lot, and the white one is for dirty water and clear water. Actually it's a good all-around light. And these things, are made really strong with good components. You can see the really big LED on there. They're very bright, but they they last for a long time. I mean, you can wade for hours and don't have to worry about it. You just want to buy yourself a little 12-volt battery, the kind that'll run a deer feeder, and put it in a backpack or a fanny pack, and you get you a nice, little shorter gig, and you just walk along with this, thing in the water. And when you see one, you gig him. It's either way, right hand or left hand. Captain Sean Harvey at GoFloundering.com, he was very helpful and taught me all about this stuff that we were talking about in the last section, and I failed to mention him. But go to JerryLEDs.com, and Jerry, he sells not only these kind, the walking kind, but he sells all the ones that you can go on the boat for above water and underwater.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so these can be used above water and underwater as well. But he if you have a flounder boat or, he can
light up your world.
Deck it up, yes. Yeah. Jerry'sLEDs.com.
So good.
Yep, he's very good. Next, we have these these big carts down here, these big beach carts made from AlumaCart. You get them from alumacart.net. This is
I like the wheels, Dave.
Yeah, they're awesome. They're low pressure beach wheels. They will go through any sand.
Of course they will.
That cart will hold 350 pounds of gear. It's got the polypropylene deck in the bottom of it, so everything will wash right through it. It's made with stainless steel, all stainless steel and aluminum, so nothing can rust on there. If you give it a good rinse, it's commercially made. As you can see, all the welds and everything are awesome. The big wagon comes with 4 rod holders on it, but you can put up to, I think, 16. You can run it all the way up and down the sides. Those sides come off, by the way. If you don't want one side on there, you can take the sides off. You just unscrew them and store them away. This one over here is called the Sidekick, and it comes with all those rod holders standard on there. And again, same thing. What's really good about those wheels on there is they got the solid hubs. There's no bearings in there for sand to get into. Like I said, they're made for the sand.
And they're what I like is that they're not gonna dig down.
No,
you know what
they
I mean?
float on the sand. These things are made to be pulled on the sand. This one actually comes with all the 10 rod holders. You can get all kinds of accessories for it, like this little cutting table and whatnot. You can actually get a receiver for the back of your truck and just lift that thing about 6 inches off the ground and put it on the receiver on your back of your truck, so you don't even have to lift it into the back of your truck.
Brie, I think it's perfect for our surf fishing that we do in Texas and in Florida. What do you think?
Yes.
Absolutely. That thing it's got everything.
It's got everything.
All right, last but not least is Matt Losher in the Startron Middle Fresh region. Matt, we were just taking a look at you catching your bucket list tarpon. Congratulations.
Thanks, Brie. That was a fantastic trip down there with Captain Rick. That was definitely a bucket list item checked off for me.
Absolutely.
I might have to do it again, too. I might have to check that box twice. That was really a lot of fun.
All right, anytime. Let's get it started. Well, tell me about Toledo Bend, bub.
All right, I'm going to dive right into a bass report here at Toledo Bend. We're seeing some early signs of fall feeding in the bass patterns lately. The large schools of bait have begun to move toward the creeks, and the bass are there taking full advantage of that buffet. They're still bunched up right now in big schools, so that means there is a lot of dead water, but when you find them, there's usually a lot in one spot. So that's the good news. At times, they even give away their location by feeding a little bit on the surface, but you haven't been catching them on topwater plugs good yet. The crankbait and the worm have still been my best catchers this week, but that quick surfacing of a chasing bass often gives away the location of that bigger school of fish, so just keep your eye peeled for it. The crankbait is my search tool right now, and then the worm's great for catching bunches once I've got them located. The way I've been doing best is kind of finding an area where there's lots of shad in about 10 to 20 foot, and then fishing along the nearest break line in about 5 to 15 foot with my crankbait. Now, once I get a bite, like I said, there's usually a lot of fish in one area, so I catch what I can as quick as I can with that crankbait, and then I pick up the worm when that slows down. Right now, I'm still Texas rigging the worm on about an 1/8 all the way up to a 3/8 ounce weight, depending on the depth and the wind that the fish are holding in. Color doesn't seem to matter much right now, but green pumpkin usually gets the nod from me most of the time, just because I like to keep it natural when I can. Seems like those bigger fish like those natural colors. Jared Poole down at Lake Buchanan let me know that he's still doing well using topwater spook type baits and soft plastic jerk baits rigged weightless around Rocky Points there on Lake Buchanan. And I got a photo here for you, courtesy of Jared, Mr. Adrian Anaya, with 2 real nice Lake Buchanan bass. Adrian's a watcher of the show. So I hope you're watching, Adrian. You got some nice fish there, man.
Oh, no, you didn't.
All right, there you go.
Go on.
Now, moving back up to Sam Rayburn, a lot of fish were caught this week. The bite seems to have improved some over there, and some bigger fish have been caught as well. There was a Bassmaster Open tournament held there this past week, and there were 3 limits over 27 pounds weighed in during that event. So some really big fish coming in. Most of the bigger fish were caught offshore around brush piles and drop-offs with either a worm or a jig or maybe a crankbait. But there were also plenty of fish caught shallow from isolated hydrilla patches and channel edges. So there's kind of a shallow and a deep deal going on, but the bigger ones seem to be coming from the deeper water. Moving over to crappie, that report's very similar to last week. The fish haven't changed much. We're still catching them in about 15 to 25 foot of water for the most part, with a few fish being caught shallower than that, but not many. The thing I've noticed this week is that the morning bite has not been very good. We've caught most of our fish in the middle of the day or early in the afternoon on minnows and jigs. Got another photo here for you of the Collins family with a real nice table full of crappie we caught on Labor Day weekend. Had a great time fishing the holiday with those folks. And then last but not least, rounding out, I want to talk about the bow fishing again. That continued to be really good for Jared Poole down on Lake LBJ. So be sure to get those trips in while the nights are still nice and warm.
All right, Matt. So we got a couple questions for you while we're there. How is Mama and the baby?
Oh, that's a good question.
I want to know.
They are fantastic.
Yeah, and so
healthy and well. He's getting chubbier by the day. I think he'll be ready to go fishing pretty soon.
All right. So give me a little bit of a report. You guys were affected by Hurricane Laura a few weeks back. Have you gotten power restored, and are the boat ramps back open? Are the gas stations actually pumping gas, you know? So Tell me what's happening.
Everything is slowly gotten back to normal here. I think everybody's just about back in power now in my region here. Still a lot of linemen out working on the power lines and such. But everybody's pretty much gone back to business as normal. The lakes have kind of stabilized. We've had some dry weather, so things are pretty much back to normal around here.
All right, well, it sounds good. We appreciate everything, and we'll talk to you again next week. It is time to take a look at the Middle Fresh region hotspots. He says that the bass are biting better in the shallows and the deep, with crankbaits producing the biggest fish. Crappie are feeding in midday and 15 to 25 feet on minnows and jigs around the standing timber. So, Dave, you know, I want to ask you something. As we transition, they had that storm go through there, and it has certainly, they haven't had those 100-degree days. What's going to happen for them here in the next few weeks as we really get cooler? The high is supposed to only be 80 this weekend.
Well, the flounder fishing is going to get better as it gets cooler, because it's going to kick those flounder and make them start to move, and they're going to be wanting to get out into the bay.
All right. Well, we'll have to check that
out into the Gulf.
Absolutely. Good job, Dave. All right, guys, get out there, catch some fish, enjoy your last weekend of summer. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll be back next week. Bye.